I've lost auctions by $1. I've won auctions that felt like curses. But every once in a long while, the math, the luck, and the gut all line up, and a dusty steel roll-up door becomes a time machine. This one started with a whisper in a Phoenix storage yard. Unit B26 long-term. No access in decades. Manager says the rent came in like clockwork until it didn't. The rules were the rules. The tenant was gone. Address dead. Phone dead. Post office forwarding expired. The facility had waited the legally required months and posted notice. Now it was binder tags and numbered paddles, and voices saying the same 3 words you always hear at these things, probably just junk. They cut the lock. The door groaned, stuck halfway, and then the desert light knife ed in. It lit up dust motes, and cardboard and a tarp so thick with grime it looked like canvas armor. What it covered wasn't square. It wasn't a couch. It was low and long with a shape that steals air from your lungs before you can name it. The guy next to me let out a half laugh. No way. Another bidder whispered, could be a kit car? Someone else said, Corvette, which is what people say when they want to sound like they know but really don't. I didn't say anything. I just watched the line of a fender under fabric and clocked the angle of an exposed headlight bucket. European. Old. Serious. We got 5 minutes to look from the threshold. No touching. No stepping inside. I craned as far as the rules allowed and cataloged clues. Faded boxes, a metal shelf with brown glass oil bottles, a stack of vintage road and track magazines, a wooden crate stamped Bosch. In the back corner, a framed black and white photo of a car on a mountain road. Not the car. A kind of car. The auctioneer asked for an opening bid. Somebody tossed out $500 like they were paying for a mistake. I went to $1,000. A dealer in a sun-baked straw hat bounced it to $15. $2,000 came from my left. I thought about my budget, my truck, my trailer, my rent, my life, and then I thought about that fender line again. $2,700, I said, and I tried to make it sound bored. Silence is a funny thing in an auction. 5 seconds feels like a minute. 10 feels like you've been abandoned by God. The straw hat twitched. The dealer's mouth started to shape a 3, and then he turned away with a shrug that said not today. The gavel came down. I signed, paid, got the keys to the unit from the manager, and then stood alone in the rectangle of shadow, trying to steady my hands. When a storage door rises after an auction, you don't open it like a kid on Christmas. You open it like a surgeon. We rolled the door. The tarp was heavy and stiff, and when I grabbed the corner it left a gray line on my palm. It came away in choking breaths. 1 pull, 2, 3, until a nose appeared, round, delicate, purposeful. It wasn't American. It wasn't a kit. It was a face I knew from posters and books and the weird corner of YouTube that records flat 6 music at 6,000 RPM. A Porsche. The badge on the horn button was a little sun-bleached, but it was there. The narrow chrome bumper. The little overriders. The creased hood with the latch still clicking in my mind. A 911, early, before they got wide and angry. The tarp slid off the rest of the car and puddled at my feet. Long hood, slim hips, Fuchs wheels with spokes like shuriken under the dust, and that slight ducktail spoiler that made my heart misfire. Either added later or something even more special. Reality check. There are barn finds. And then there are myths. We live in the world, not on message boards. I went looking for facts. The glove box was locked. The doors weren't. The leather, black and cracked, gave up the smell of old gasoline and old lives. In the driver's footwell, a faded red pouch. The factory took it with the odd little fan belt, and that flat Porsche double-ended wrench. On the dash, enter the grime, the little green letters. VDO. The 3-spoke steering wheel was skinny and honest, the kind you hold with your fingertips when a road turns from suggestion to prayer. VIN first. On early 911s you find it in the front trunk near the latch panel, and on a little aluminum plate near the A-pillar. I popped the hood. Hinges squealed, and there it was, stamped clean as a signature. 911230XXXX. The layout told me the year, 1972, and the model, 911S. 1-year quirks danced through my memory. Ocla. The weird external oil filler door only in 72. I walked around to the right rear quarter and there it was, a filled circle under the grime. The filler door bonded shut like someone had tried to hide a rare birthmark. I said it out loud because sometimes you have to hear dumb luck with your own ears. It's a 72S. If you know, you know. The 911S in 1972 was the top of the heap. Mechanical fuel injection. High compression, 190 horsepower in a car light, enough to feel every breath of wind. They built fewer S cars than the regular 911T or 911E. The Ocla cars are the weirdos, the 1 year only, the ones that collectors whisper about. If the engine was original, and that's always the prayer, This thing was serious. I pulled the carpet in the front trunk and found more time capsules. A stack of receipts from a shop in Santa Monica in the late 80s, valve adjustment, chain tensioners, a note from Hans about throttle response, a registration card from 1998 with the name Thomas Ellery. Under that, a Polaroid of the car, blue as ocean after rain, Gemini blue, no rust visible, California plates. A sticky note, needs clutch, parked for now. So why Arizona? There was a moving company sticker on one of the cardboard wardrobe boxes. I called the number on the sticker and got a disconnected sound from another century. I made a mental note, research later. Don't get lost now. Back to the back, the engine lid. The deck lid latch protested but opened. The flat 6 was there, metal-like sculpture, magnesium case. Bosch mechanical fuel injection pump with 6 little steel lines like spider legs. On the fan housing a type number, 911/53, correct for a 72S. On the horizontal surface of the crankcase, the engine serial, 632XXXX. Not a match to the chassis yet. I'd need the factory build information, but in the right neighborhood. The fan belt looked like it remembered the 90S. A mice nest, none. Oil on the dipstick, black, low, not sludge. Promising. Then came the first problem. The car didn't want to roll. 2 decades of sitting makes brakes clamp themselves in silent protest. We jacked it carefully, corner by corner, slipped skates under the tires, and coaxed it into the daylight with a come along and a prayer. The sun turned the dust into velvet and the car into a ghost. In that harsh, honest light I saw the needs. Little bubbles around the door bottoms, a rough patch on the left battery box, a split in the dash. But the bones were there. That's when the neighbor from the next row wandered over. There's always a neighbor. My cousin says that was his friend's car. He gestured vaguely at the horizon. You can't just take it. I had the contract in my pocket, and the manager on speed dial. I kept my voice friendly. The facility did a lien sale. I'm the legal buyer now. If your cousin has paperwork, he should call the manager. He frowned, wandered away, and I exhaled. In this business, you learn to be polite, firm, and boring. Boring keeps police out of videos. Back at the unit I inventoried everything. Original owner's manual with a coffee stain the size of Europe, a Porsche factory folder with a set of keys taped inside, trunk, door, ignition, a partially completed certificate of authenticity from 2005, a faded Porsche Club of America decal, 2 unmounted original 6x15 Fuchs wheels, and 3 boxes labeled Tom, negatives. I peeked. Black and white contact sheets of desert roads, and a young man leaning on this very car, with a grin that could sell you anything. We loaded the Porsche, strapped it carefully, through the suspension, never over bodywork, and retailed our nerves home. I don't try to start it on the same day. That's how you end up with viral videos and ruined engines. This stuff takes time. We did it right. Fuel out, lines inspected, a new filter, fresh premium in the tank through a funnel with a screen that caught confetti that used to be leaves. We drained the oil, thick molasses, and filled with fresh 20W50, and a Mayhole filter. The spark plugs were fossilized. We misted the cylinders with a little Marvel mystery oil, and let it sit. The battery was a fossil too. We installed a new one and traced ground straps like archaeologists. Before turning anything, we pulled the fan belt, and put a socket on the crank pulley. I closed my eyes and tried. A careful quarter turn, a half, a full revolution, smooth. No horrible clank, no stick. The flat 6 still knew what circles felt like. My friend Nate, who speaks fluent 911, checked the MFI pump linkage, primed the system, and checked that the little plastic fuel lines hadn't turned into chalk. He pulled the distributor cap, and blew dust like a magician with stage fright. We had fire extinguishers on both sides because old German fuel lines are faithful and murderous at the same time. Moment of truth. Ignition. The dash lit like a Christmas story you've heard since birth. Tiny green bulbs, a red alternator light, oil pressure warning. I cranked. The starter word in the flat 6 coughed once, like it was clearing its throat after a very long nap. We cranked again and it caught. Rough. Surging. Angry at being woken, the MFI hunting and pecking until the cylinders remembered. Then the note settled and grew a spine. The red alternator light winked out. Oil pressure came up. The garage filled with the kind of sound that makes dogs tilt their heads, and neighbors text, "Is that a Porsche?" We let it warm gently, checked for leaks, nothing catastrophic, a small weep at a chain.